Hi everybody, it's Maya. This is the start of Module 13 and our topic is psychic self-defense. This is a topic that I think is really juicy, so I can't wait to get into it. But before we go any further, I want to mention that we are covering 5 videos in this module, as well as a handout. So this module is chock full of information that's valuable for everybody, no matter what your path may be. Okay, so this is video 1. In video 1, we're going to cover what is psychic self-defense, why it's important, what needs protecting, and a little bit of story time, a little bit about my history and how come I know so much about psychic self-defense. Actually, I've been saying lately that I should write a book about, I've been saying I was going to write a book for a long time, but lately I've been saying that I should write a book about some of these stories, because I'm only going to touch the tip of the iceberg with some of my story here, but it's really interesting. Anyway, so what is psychic self-defense? Well, it is the practice of protecting your energy. Another term for psychic self-defense is energy maintenance. That's what I call it, energy maintenance. So as you know, you have your physical body, you have your energy body, which is your aura, you have a lot of different aspects to your energy body, your chakra system, your meridians, all of that needs to be in good working condition, and it all needs to be protected. Now, I'll mention we don't need to be thinking in fear, like, oh my gosh, I have to protect myself every moment, something bad is going to hurt my energy. If you get into that mode, then I call that victim mode. So you don't want to be in victim mode. You want to be empowered, and knowledge is power, my friends. Knowledge is power. So this, by having knowledge about what all of this is, you will be more powerful, you'll be informed, you'll know what's up, you'll be able to determine what's happening with your energy, and so on. Okay? So that is what psychic self-defense is all about. It's about discerning what's going on in your energy and the energy of your environment, and taking action for strengthening your energy or protecting your energy or your environment as needed. Okay? So why is psychic self-defense important? Well, it's important because if you don't take care of your energy, then you can have some kind of yucky side effects. And we're actually going to go into that in one of the future videos. And I have so much that I'm covering. I keep looking down at my notes because I've got 3 pages of notes that we're covering. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So it's important because you can end up having some nasty side effects if you are the recipient of some nasties, some I like to make light of this so it doesn't get too serious. So sometimes I call it energy cooties. So if you are on the receiving end of some energy cooties, then you can have some negative side effects. And so it's important to be aware, to be informed, and to take actions as necessary so that you don't have those negative side effects. And again, it's all about being empowered, because you are in charge of your own energy. And in learning about psychic self-defense and in taking power of your, taking control of your own energy maintenance, that's about you taking your power back, right? And think about, well, why is it important to brush your teeth every day? Well, because if you don't, then you're going to have bacteria growing and all sorts of other, you're going to get cavities, all sorts of other negative effects. And so you're going to do your teeth maintenance every day. Same thing, you want to take care of your energy maintenance every day. So what is it that needs protecting? Okay, so I already mentioned a little bit of this before, but your physical body. You need to be empowered and informed about protecting your physical body, because your physical body can end up, becoming ill if you are the recipient of some energy cooties. So again, not to be fear-based here, but this is stuff that can happen, so we want to be aware. So what needs protecting? Your physical body. Your mind and your emotions also need protecting. If you get connected in accidentally with some negative energies, then it can cause depression, it can cause a lot of negative thinking, all sorts of negative effects to your mind and to your emotions. So that also needs protection. Your energy body, including your aura, your chakras, every aspect of your energy body needs healthy energy maintenance and protection. Also, your home. So all of the things that we're going to talk about today, for the most part, most of what we're going to talk about applies to not just you, but also your home and the other things that need protecting, your family, your loved ones, your pets, your belongings, physical belongings, including your electronic devices. Those actually really need clearing and protecting because a lot of energy gets sent through those. And also, if you happen to be a business owner, then you can do these techniques on your business as well. Okay? Okay, so now a little bit about my history. I actually, as I mentioned before, I know a whole lot about the topic of psychic self-defense. And I jokingly say, unfortunately, I know a lot about it. Because what that means is that it's not just that I read a bunch of books. I mean, books are important and studying is important, but a lot of what I know is based on firsthand personal experience. So put your seatbelt on and we're going to do some story time. Okay, so I've got 5 different stories that I'm just going to touch on. And the first one is that when I was a teenager, I had a couple of different situations where I was visited or attacked by dark energies. Now, I don't say this to scare you. That kind of thing is not that common, okay? It does happen sometimes with, and I know you guys know me, you know I'm not coming from ego here. Sometimes it can happen with people who are really strongly aligned with a life purpose of being a light worker and working for the light. Okay. And I always knew that even since I was a young child, even though it took me a while to get to this particular job that I'm doing right now. But I always was very connected with the divine, as I know all of you are. I felt a very strong connection. And sometimes people like that are targeted because what the darkness wants to do is get you to be in fear. And so that's going to be your job here while listening to this story, is to not get into fear, but remember that you're going to receive some really powerful information here. Okay. So when I was a teenager, I experienced these attacks and I didn't have very much support. I didn't have very many people that I could talk to about this. I had a couple people at my church. So I made it through those and I still stayed committed. Part of that, when that happens, is that to people, is that it's a test to see how committed you are. If you want to go over, it sounds really silly, but it's really true. It's a test to see if you're going to really stay committed to the light, or if you're going to go over to what my friends and I call Team Dark. And so I stayed committed and it stopped bothering me, right? Teenagers are very susceptible in a lot of different ways. It's a time of a lot of emotional upheaval, and so because it's a very vulnerable time, it's no big surprise that that was happening at that time. So as a teenager, I had to learn how to deal with this stuff and how to not be afraid. As I mentioned before, the good news is that kind of attack is very uncommon. So most of you watching this are not going to experience that, but if it ever comes into your experience, you know who to talk to. I will help you. I will definitely help you. Okay, so story number 2 is that when I was in my 20s, I accidentally moved into a haunted house. And I say accidentally because I should have known better. At that time, I was aware enough, intuitively, psychically, spiritually, that I should have known better to tune into the energies before I moved in. And I didn't. And the first night that I moved in there, I got ready for bed, got into bed, laid my head down on the pillow, and as soon as my head hit the pillow and I closed my eyes, I promise I was not asleep yet. I had just closed my eyes. And I suddenly heard what sounded like hundreds and hundreds of whispers. And I said, oh, crap. There's a ton of ghosts in this house. Shoot, I should have checked before I moved in. Luckily, it was a temporary living situation, so I was only there for 6 months. But there were several ghosts there. And there was also one ghost that was very, very evil. And that was very tricky to clear that one out. And so I know a lot about clearing out very stubborn and strong energies out of your home, because that's what I had to deal with there. Then the third story is that about 10 years ago, there was someone in my professional world back at that time who decided, for their own reasons, that they were not happy with me. And instead of talking to me about it, they happened to be, I know this for a fact, they happened to be a practitioner of black magic. It sounds crazy, I know, my life, crazy stuff, right? This person, there's a lot of people out there who practice different forms of magic. I'm very open-minded, so I want to be clear that this person specifically was working with dark energies, which you do not want to do ever. But this person was working with black magic specifically, and they did, I guess you'd call it a curse, spell, a negative spell. And boy, that was definitely a learning experience. And there were all sorts of crazy things that happened. All of the electronic equipment broke. Mine, my 2 business assistants at the time, my boyfriend at the time, all of our cars broke down. There was this horrible foul stench that showed up at the house the day that the curse hit, and no one could figure out where it was coming from. I was renting, the landlord couldn't figure it out. I came to find out later that a horrible smell with no actual physical origin is a sign of psychic attack. So what she had been doing was a psychic attack, which is actually creating very bad karma for her. But what I had to learn in that situation was that a lot of how that works is with fear. So when I was afraid, that curse was working great. But once I really stepped into my power and treated it just like you would a bully in real life, 3D life. If someone's bullying you and you just laugh at them, then they get tired and they go away. It's the same in the energy world. So that's what I had to learn, was to stop being afraid of this energy and stand up for myself. And eventually that person backed off. And this was all energetic. by the way, because after that I had no contact with her. That's another thing. If you ever receive psychic attack from someone, don't be around that person at all, No contact. So those first three stories are the, really crazy stories. I have more stories, but we're not going to spend all of this on story time because this module is about information for you so that you can learn how to identify this stuff and what to do. The fourth example is probably the most important, and it's that I'm an empath and I'm sensitive to energies, and so therefore just the daily just thought forms, negative thoughts coming from other people tends to affect me more than someone who's not sensitive. The reason why I say this is the most important aspect in my history is because it's what's going to apply to most of you watching this. Many of you watching this are sensitive to some degree energetically, and being at a workplace or in any type of environment where there's a lot of negative energy, negative vibes, negative thoughts, negative feelings, that's all energy, and it will have an effect on you. So you don't have to be living in a haunted house or be experiencing psychic attack from someone practicing black magic or anything like that to have the need for psychic self-defense, for energy maintenance. Because everybody has had situations where they've been in a negative environment or been around someone who just has bad energy, and so you need to learn these tools because of that. So I'm someone who's an empath. That means I tend to really absorb energy like a sponge, and so I've learned a lot about energy maintenance because of that. And then the fifth example, I think, is the second most important, and it's that a couple of years ago, I went to a retreat, and I have to admit, with my close friends, I jokingly now in private call this retreat the retreat from hell. Retreat from hell. That's what I call it. That's not what it was actually called. It was supposed to be a very transformational retreat, and I have the utmost respect for the people who put on that event, so no disrespect intended, and I'm not going to share what the event was or who it was, because that's not what this is about. But in short, the people putting on the event did not understand the importance and the necessity of clearing the energy of their space. And one of the main ideas of this retreat was that we were doing a lot of release work. We were releasing huge amounts of psychic trauma, emotional pain from our past, and we were using these shamanic techniques for releasing all of this, which is powerful. That sounds awesome, right? That it is awesome. But again, they did not understand the importance of clearing the energy. And so what happened was we released all this stuff, and then we continued to sit in this like toxic waste sludge energy for the rest of the weekend. And all of this, it was just horrible energy, and took me a couple of weeks to clear myself after that event. There were also energies like that, really powerful psychic energies that we released, are also food for the really nasty energies out there. So there were a lot of really dark energies that came in to feed off of that as well. And and so that was another reason why it was really unpleasant, is I had a whole bunch of stuff, energy cooties attached to me then that I had to have removed after I came back from that retreat. That retreat was a huge learning experience. And I share this with you because I think so many times we just trust that if we're going to an event or a yoga studio or, I don't know, like any kind of spiritual event out there, retreat or retreat center or anything like that, that we just assume that the people teaching it or running it really understand about proper energy management and like that they would have saged the space and been very clear about what type of energies are allowed to be there. Now, you all have had a very positive experience with my classes because well, I'm assuming so. Tell me if it's otherwise. But because I've been very clear, always energetically, about that only energies of light are permitted to be in our space. I'm very clear about that. But a lot of people don't even set that boundary. And so who knows what comes in. I went to a drum circle once at a yoga studio, and someone sitting 3 people down from me was getting possessed. She started like shaking and like crying and freaking out. And I took one look at her. I knew exactly what was happening. And I looked at the owner like of the studio. Aren't you going to do anything? That was another learning experience for me, is that I'm learning that sometimes, even though it's not my event and not my studio, that sometimes if I'm witnessing that, sometimes I'm supposed to step up and do something. But I was honoring that person's space. There's all sorts of things out there, and that you can assume that the studio owner or the retreat center owner or whatever knows about this stuff. But unfortunately, a lot of times they don't. Okay? So part of your work here in this module is going to be, number 1, to get informed, and number 2, to get empowered, and number 3, to trust yourself. Trust your vibes. So if something doesn't feel right to you, then it's probably not right. If you walk into an event and it doesn't feel right, then trust that. You have permission to leave. Give yourself permission to leave if you need to. Okay, so I'm going to end our stories on that positive note about trusting yourself. And this is just such a fascinating topic. And I really am, I'm going to say again, I'm really excited about sharing it with all of you, because frankly, a lot of people really they just don't have the experience in this field, and they don't know about all of this. They know maybe how to burn sage and clear a space that way, possibly, and that's kind of it. So I am chock full of knowledge and information, and I'm so excited to share it with all of you. So in the next video, we are going to go into what's out there and how can it impact you. And then we're going to get into, after that, we're going to get into the really empowering and positive stuff. Because in video 3, we're going to talk about ways to protect yourself and things to keep in mind. And then video 4, Maya's top 6 energy protection techniques. Dun, da, 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 Maya's top 6. So if you learn anything from this, I want you to practice those top 6 techniques. And then in video 5, I'm going to give you some other more advanced techniques for clearing and protection. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. This is kind of an intense topic, so if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, if you've had any experiences with any of this and you want to send me a message, please do so, and I would be more than happy to answer. You can also post it on the Facebook page if it's something that you don't mind sharing publicly. Other people can learn from your questions as well. Sending you all my love, so much love. See you in the next video.